Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. That's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, Jen Nosworthy. This is a pre-recorded show broadcasting on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans, USA, and 105.3 FM Gulf Coast, USA. Listen in to Paranormal NL Podcast on UPRN on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. EST, and follow UPRN at uprntalkradio.com and all their socials. Paranormal NL Podcast believes in promoting paranormal networking and paranormal tourism all over the world. PNL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, a boots on the ground paranormal investigation team in Newfoundland, Canada. Contact me, your host Jen, at paranormal.nl podcast@gmail.com, or follow me and the BOG team on Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. Now let's get on with this pre-recorded special Christmas show tonight. I have on with me all the way from New York in the good old US of A. Welcome to the stage. We got Al Santariga. Welcome, Al.
Hi, Jen. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
And Al is also known as the Squatchfather. So welcome, Al. So for the folks listening in all over the world, a big Merry Christmas to y'all. This is a pre-recorded episode, and you're coming in hot all the way from New York. And I know you got that big Christmas tree up there. Is that already lit?
No, not yet, after Thanksgiving, but we got snow today, so it feels like Christmas around here.
I got to make fun of you. I'm all the way out in the Atlantic Ocean, and Al, we had 5 degrees plus Celsius today with no snow, and y'all are over there in the snow.
Yeah, we got about a half a foot of snow today.
Nice
up
and
here
in
the Hudson Valley. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Absolutely, yeah.
So Al, tell me more about you. Tell our listeners about who you are and how you got into the paranormal. I know you've got a lot of history.
Yeah, my name is Al Santariga. I'm the founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society. I'm also the director of the New York State Sasquatch Organization, the New York State UFO Project, the New York State Dogman Project, and Region 3 director for the North American Dogman Project. And I'm a MUFON member. My mom was a psychic. My brother was one of the first parapsychologists in the United States. And,
lots of Claires in your family. Hey, Al.
Yeah. And, I had a grandmother who was a white witch, and an aunt who was a white witch, and a cousin who was a black witch. So the paranormal was normal for me growing up. My brother always had a library of books on everything under the sun. And when he finished reading it, I read it next. My sister is an empath. And so, the paranormal was just natural to me.
A lot of stuff going on in your family for sure with the paranormal. Al, is there something that sticks out in your mind? When you think about paranormal, I know a lot of people just think ghosts, but hey, it's not just ghosts, right, Al? We got your cryptid creatures, we got your UFOs, and not just your spooky ooze, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's all connected. All 3 genres are connected. And took me a long time to realize that, but they are all connected. And like I said, when I was a young kid, sleeping over at my cousin's house, whether it's my cousin Dino or my cousin Anthony's, we would the adults would come in and they would do seances and stuff. Never using a Ouija board or anything like that, but they would definitely do tarot card readings. And, me and my cousins would creep out from our bedrooms and stay in the shadows and watch. And it was amazing when you seen the candelabras start to dance and the flames would go from like 1 inch to a foot high. And it was pretty wild. It was pretty amazing. And for some reason, my relatives were always trying to channel other relatives, But,
yeah, because your mom was a psychic, right? You were mentioning.
Yeah, my mom was a psychic. My father actually made her sleep in a separate bedroom because the spirits would come to her at night and she would talk all night long. And my father worked construction. He had to get up early in the morning to go to work. So he didn't want to hear her babbling all night long to someone who's not there. So you made
Now,
her sleep in another room.
did she know that she was doing that at night, talking?
No, she didn't know until the next day when, someone would tell her, my father would say, you were talking all night long last night, or I would tell her, hey mom, I heard you talking, she would sleep on the pull-out couch in the living room some nights, and my bedroom was next to the living room and I could hear her talking. I would get up and go and look because like, who the hell is she talking to? And there would be nobody there, and sometimes it was in broken English because my mother was from the other side, she was from Italy, or sometimes it was just all Italian. And my mother always had premonitions whenever anybody died that was either in the family or close to the family. And it didn't matter if she was visiting my sister in Florida, my brother in Colorado, or my relatives in Italy. When anyone ever died, they always went to my mother first. And then my
Okay.
mom would call back to New York and say, go check on this one, go check on that one, and we would find them dead, So they would always go to my mother first for some reason.
Now, when you were a kid, because your mom was a psychic, would you ask your mom where Santa was?
No, I never asked her anything like that, as I didn't really like when my first paranormal experience was when I was about, I'm going to say 5 years old. My grandmother lived with us and she passed away, and I got her
Oh, sorry.
bedroom. I got her bedroom and I
Okay.
slept in her bed with her sheets and her pillows.
Wow.
And the funeral parlor was directly across the street. And back then, you would do a funeral for like 3 days. You know what I mean? And we would go to the funeral parlor. The whole neighborhood would be there because our whole neighborhood was either blood relatives through marriage, or paisans from the same village in Italy. So the whole neighborhood would be there. And right after she passed away, she started coming to me at night and tucking me in,
Okay.
and she only spoke Italian. She didn't speak any English. And she would come to me and she would tuck me in. And I would tell my mother, because I knew my mother was more understanding than my father. My father had a ghost run through the engine block of his Mustang, look right at him, and he still refused to believe in ghosts. But my mother, of course, my mother knew all that stuff was real. And I would tell my mother, and she'd say, oh, don't worry about it. It's just your grandmother coming to tuck you in. And if I told my father, he would say, oh, get the hell out of here. She's across the street still. We didn't even bury her yet. But
So your dad didn't believe at all, hey?
um, he would never admit to believing, but when he had his experience with the ghost ran through the engine block of his car, he was with a friend of his, and they were both World War II veterans, and they were both had Purple Hearts, and so these guys were manly men, and his friend Angelo, if you brought up the subject at the table, Angelo would get goosebumps and tears in his eyes, and he couldn't talk. And my father didn't want to hear it because my brother would always bring it up.
Oh,
Angelo,
okay.
tell us the story about when the ghost ran through the engine block. And Angelo like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Don't. Because and this guy was a tank commander, and he was deadly afraid of ghosts. As a matter of fact, the night they seen the ghost, they were fishing out of Montauk, New York. It was in the February. It was really, really cold at the old Navy Yard, and
Okay.
that's where the fluke would run in, and the ghost came out of one of the old hangars, and it ran through the fence, and it ran through my father's engine block of his car, looked right at both of them because they happened to be sitting in the car warming up, having some coffee and something to eat, and looked right into the car windshield and like this, and then it went out, and Angelo's like, okay, it's time to go. And my father's like, I'm not going anywhere until I go get my fishing pole and all my gear off the dock, and then we'll go. And my brother actually used to go out with Han Holzer's right-hand man, and he would take their psychic too with them sometimes. And he went out and he investigated it at a Montauk. They were in a diner and they were talking late one night. They were talking to the guy at the diner, and the owner of the diner knew the whole story. There was a young officer at that Navy base. Back then it was a Navy base, and he had an affair with the commander's wife. and the
Oh
command and the commander
no.
hung him right there on the docks.
No way.
Yes, hung him right there,
Wow.
and or hung him inside that hangar or whatever it was. It was like, I guess it
Right.
was like a hangar where they put boats and stuff.
Yeah.
And he came out of that hangar and ran through the fence and ran through my father's engine block. And like I said, when my brother would make Angelo tell the story, Angelo had tears in his eyes. He couldn't get through it. And my father didn't want to hear it, like it didn't happen. But everybody knew it happened. My brother investigated it. He got all the details on it. So,
Makes me think of the Ghost of Christmas Past, when he comes back and Ebenezer don't believe him at all. Now, Al,
yeah.
you've also got a big MUFON influence too. When you think of MUFON, what kind of stuff is happening in the skies up in New York with the stars and whatnot?
My God. I don't know if you've seen my last 3 videos I posted on Facebook, but I got a UFO hanging over my house for the last month. Okay.
For the last month?
For the last month. One night, my wife was getting ready to close 3-4 weeks ago. She was getting ready to close the curtains to
Right.
the friend, and she seen this thing in the sky. It was like it kind of had like, it was lit up, and it was like a yellowish white light. It wasn't like that blue white light like the stars are.
Right.
And she said, "Hey, hon, what's this in the sky?" And I looked out and I said, "I don't know. It's pretty low." So I went outside and I looked at it, and I was filming with it was a Friday night, and I was filming with my phone because all my gear was packed in my car for the next day, because the next day I was going squatching.
Right.
So I couldn't have any of my, so I was filming with my thing, and then I made it bigger to get a better look at it. And I had just done this Western UFO conference out of Danbury, Connecticut, Western Connecticut UFO conference. And Mark D'Antonio, he was a MUFON guy. He was there with me, and he was explaining the propulsion systems. And it was crazy because what he was explaining that night at the meeting, I was seeing in the night sky. When I zoomed in on this object, and it's a stupid way to describe it, but it looked like a germ underneath the microscope. Okay, it looked round, and it was, the lights were going around. It was going around in circles, and it was different color lights. But when you looked at it up at the sky, it looked like a triangle, and it was just one color light, like a yellowish white light.
Yeah.
So I filmed it. So then that was the Friday night, and then the following Thursday, it came back again. I was checking all week long. It wasn't around. And then the following Thursday, it came back again, and I filmed it again. And I did this time again. All my gear was upstairs, but it still wasn't unpacked.
No, you love it when that happens, Al. Something happens. You're like, where's my gear?
I'm using my phone, and this time I brought my tactical flashlight out with me, and I did a Morse code. And when I did a Morse code, it started to come in, to see me. But when I put the flashlight down to pick up my phone to film, when I picked up my phone, it must have seen the phone or something, and it backed off. Okay. So then the following week, it comes back again, but this time on a Wednesday. And again, now I got my gear ready. I'm ready. I got my 4K camcorder ready to go. I got it on a tripod. I'm filming with that. I just bought a brand new brand new. It's called a night vision binoculars, but it's more like a camera because it films in 4K. It has audio. You can take pictures with it, and it also films in color, night vision, infrared, and full spectrum. It has all this. So I'm filming with that as well. I'm holding that, and I'm flipping to different colors of different spectrums of light, filming in different spectrums of light to see if I can get it really good. Right. And I filmed with both of those things. And then I put everything away because it was, how long can you stand down on the front deck filming? And again, I always filmed with my phone, and I'm posting all of this stuff on the BPS page and Facebook. And then when was it? Last Tuesday morning. I get up to go to work. I think it was Tuesday. I don't remember. I think it was Tuesday. I get up to go to work early in the morning, 4:00 in the morning. And around 4:15, I'm going outside to get in the car to leave. And it's there. Now, I've never seen it there in the morning. I've only seen it there at night. But it's there. So I pick up my phone and I start filming again. And this time, as I'm filming it, it does a flash for me.
Okay, so it's trying to communicate with you.
And you know, when I seen I'm looking at the phone and I see the flash, and I was like, "Holy crap! Did it just flash me?" So I stop recording and then I rewind the film and I'm looking at it, and what looked like a flash in the sky in the actual video looks like the craft actually expands. It's
Okay, so it changes.
Yeah, and I don't believe, personally, I don't believe it's the craft expanding because in a couple of
Tis the season, right?
in a couple of my still shots that I took,
right,
and I ran it through a bunch of filters, and you can see via the filters that looks like it's a triangle craft, and there's like an orb in the middle of it. Okay, so I truly do believe it's a triangle. And I don't believe that when they did that flash, I don't believe that it expanded. I think it's just it's just the way the light looked. You know what I mean?
okay.
I don't really believe that the craft expanded because it doesn't look like to me that it's what's it called, that the crafts they have now that are made out of
yeah, the one I know the ones you're talking about.
Yeah, they're at some kind of light.
Yeah, because we got all kinds of different crafts, don't we?
Yeah, I can't think of the word right now.
I'm actually looking for your video over here on BPS. I'm digging.
Yeah, and it was weird because when it came back just the other night again. I have these really, really high end binoculars that I use for when I go to the rifle range to see the distance of because a couple of my guns only have like red dot scopes. They don't have real scopes.
Right.
And my bigger rifles have real scopes. It was like, can't see 300 yards downrange. So I bought these high powered binoculars. So the other night I was looking at it through the binoculars. And I gave them to my wife, and she went out and looked at it, and she said, it almost looks like it has tentacles, like a squid, and the tentacles are hanging down.
Okay, that's
so
weird.
I was like, what the hell are you talking about? So I grabbed the binoculars, and I looked, but when I looked at the craft, the tentacles weren't hanging down. They were facing west.
Facing west.
Yeah, they were. It was just very, very strange. Plasma. That's the word I was looking for. A plasma craft. It doesn't look like it's a plasma craft to me. It looks like it's a triangle with some kind of orb, sphere in the middle of it that's making different color lights as it goes around. Because the way Mark explained it, when that thing is spinning around like that, that's what's creating the antimatter part of the propulsion system. And it looked exactly like what Mark was discussing at the conference. But yeah, this has been going on for like a month now. Excuse me. And,
so Al, yeah, it sounds like you've had definitely something weird going on with the lights. And haven't you guys done some CE5 events too with the BPS?
Oh yeah. We for the last I would say the last 10 years or so, Pine Bush, New York, which is the capital of the UFO phenomenon here in New York State, has been doing a UFO fair, and we get invited just about every year now. We can't always make it because we have obligations to other stuff, but we've gone at least 5 out of the 10 years, and it was one particular year where we were going to do CE5 at the end of the night when all the speakers have spoke. We went to this park that was really, really dark, and I was really, really tired. I was going through cancer treatment at the time. And I
I'm
was
sorry, Al.
exhausted. I was exhausted because I had been there since like 7 o'clock in the morning. And now it's like 10 o'clock at night. And I told my partner, Brian, I said, you run the C5 because I'm just too damn tired. And so we were doing the C5, and it took a while. There was like about 100 people or so at the park waiting for us, and there was a German camera crew there as well. And Brian was walking everybody through the protocol, the C5 protocol and stuff. And after about, I would say 45 minutes, a craft showed up. And of course, I did my Morse code, and it did the Morse code back. And then I had a laser pointer, and I was pointing from one mountaintop to the other, and then back again. And these mountaintops were miles and miles apart, And this thing was shooting down to one mountain and shooting back to the other in a thousandth of a second. I mean, it was insane.
So it was following the light. Hey, it was kind of like responding to what you were doing with the light.
Right. Whatever I was doing, it was doing too. And then at one point it left. Now, the German camera crew were filming this. The people at the park were going absolutely insane. And it left. And everybody's like, no, don't leave. So we said, no, please don't leave. Come back. And it came back. It came back again. And then again, I did another Morse code. And it did the same code back to me. But on the third flash, the flash was so bright that it lit up this giant park like it was daytime. It must have lit up like the whole town. And then it was gone. Blink of an eye.
Like the Star of David for Christmas. That's crazy.
I mean, it was like every time it flashed, it got brighter and brighter. And the last one was just a humongous flash, and it flew away. And then the following Monday, the woman who ran the event called me, and she was like, Al, what did you guys do at the park Saturday night? And I said, well, this is a UFO conference, right? We brought in a UFO. She says, my phone has been ringing off the hook all day. And she said it was all about you guys, And I was like, well, look, I said, this is what we're here for. It's a UFO conference, and we brought the craft in, Now, I don't know if the German camera crew ever release that video or not, because they said they were going to release it in Germany. So I don't know if it ever came out here in the United States or if it's on YouTube or something like that. But somewhere out there, it's floating around.
Now, I know you've got some other UFO things that you've been talking about recently. We're over here in Connecticut.
Oh, yeah. That was the Connecticut conference. I talked about a mother craft that I seen on the Parkway one day, and I talked about a couple of my possible abductions scenarios. I was living in Connecticut, Trumbull, Connecticut, right on the border of Bridgeport and Trumbull, and I was commuting down to New York to work every day on the Merritt Parkway, and I just bought like a 1984 Mustang, and one night I'm driving home on the Parkway. It was a nice summer night. It was around 7 o'clock at night, 7:30, something like that. I'm actually listening to the Yankee game, and I'm driving up the Parkway, and my car starts to putter, and I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! It's a brand new car, So I said, "Let me get off the road." I didn't want to get rear-ended because everybody's, doing 100 miles an hour, and I got off the road, and I happened to get off at the top of a little hill. And I got off the car. When I got out of the car to go check the engine to see what was wrong, I noticed that the parkway on both sides, there was nothing but cars stopped. And I never thought to look up. I was always looking down, and I see all these parked cars, and I was like, oh man, I wonder what happened down there. And then I see a state trooper happen to be on the grass. And I said, man, it must be a motorcycle accident or something, So I walked down to the trooper thinking I got to get him to call me a tow truck to get my car off the parkway. And I said, what's going on? And I'm looking around. I don't see any motorcycle. I don't see anybody hurt or anything, but everybody is getting out of their cars on
So
both sides of the parkway.
and they're all looking up. Are they?
They all started to look
Okay.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw, when I asked the cop what's going on, he said, look up. And I looked up, and there above the parkway, and it took up all 4 lanes, the divider in the middle, and grass on both sides, was this thing that I could only describe looked like the Roman Colosseum.
What?
Okay. It was just above the tree line.
Yeah.
It was lit up underneath, like if you would light up a baseball stadium at night and flip it over. That's how it was lit up. But it had little arches that went up and up and up and up and up and looked like different floors, different levels.
Okay.
So I said to the cop, well, what do you think it is? And he looked at me and goes, what are you being, a wise ass? It's a UFO, And I go, okay, I just wanted to hear you say it, And I'm looking up into the arches to see if I can see anybody looking down at me,
Right, yeah, because it's always better when you get somebody else to say, yeah, I see it,
And I'm looking at all the people, and there's like a really weird calm. Like nobody's running around like a chicken without a head. And it's just a very strange kind of calm across everybody who's out of their cars. And then I'm start looking at the tree line, and I'm saying, wow, the trees aren't moving. It's not making any noise. The trees aren't moving. Everybody's pretty calm down here. This thing is like a mothercraft. And I just like, I'm looking at this thing, and
that was going to be my next question. Yeah, was there any sound or anything like that, or
no sound, no wind, no nothing, but a strange calm across the parkways of all the people. Like it was surreal almost, And at one point, the cop is playing with his radio, trying to get somebody, but his radio's not working. Okay. All the cars are dead.
Really?
It's like a parking lot. All the
so
cars
it's like
are dead.
an EMP kind of thing, and nobody's car was working.
Nobody's
radios don't work. What
Nope.
about like cell phone or?
Well, we didn't have cell phones back then, and
true.
And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, this thing jumps up like 1,000 feet, and this massive thing that looks like the Roman Colosseum jumps up 1,000 feet in a blink of an eye. And as soon as it does that, all the cars start up again, and the police radio is working. So the cop calls the dispatch and says, "Hey, listen, you got to scramble 2 jets out of the Bridgeport Air National Guard. We got a UFO between these 2 exits in the parkway. It's right above the tree line. You can't miss it." So the dispatcher says, "Okay," and he calls the Air National Guard at Bridgeport. They send out 2 jets. And I'm eavesdropping to the cop because I'm saying that. So I'm eavesdropping to the conversation.
You want to hear what is going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm thinking in my head, I can't wait to get home to tell my brother about this. This is insane, And I'm eavesdropping, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna transfer you over to the lead pilot." And the lead pilot said, "Yeah, I don't see anything on radar, and I got like a 20-mile visibility. I don't see anything in the sky." And the cop is like, "It's here. It's humongous." I think the cop said it's like the size of Giant Stadium or something like that, right?
Wow.
And he says it's here. He said it's here. Yeah, it's here. And so then after a few minutes of talking, the lead pilot said, "Okay, we'll be there in like 30 seconds." And as soon as he said that, this thing shot straight up into the sky. Like 1,000th of a second, it was gone. You could
like it hurt them or something.
It was like it was listening to their radio conversation. Yeah.
Makes me think of Skinwalker, when they have all those weird radio signals and weird stuff going on, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're listening in or something.
They were definitely listening to that conversation. And now these 2 jets roar past us down the parkway. and the trees are bending over and the ground is shaking and leaves are flying, and it felt like the end of the world.
Wow.
Okay. And then they turned around and they went back up north the park, up the parkway, and went back to Bridgeport. I get back up to my car. My car is running fine now. I jump back in the car and I race home to tell my brother. And as I kick in the back door to tell my brother's coming in through the front door. And I'm like, Frank, you're not going to believe what this. And he goes, you're not going to believe what I heard. I go, what'd you hear? He said, I was up in your apartment. I had the attic apartment in his house. Because I was up in your apartment painting, and I was listening to a radio show out of Bridgeport, and a UFO came across the Long Island Sound into Bridgeport. And the radio host went up on the roof, and he was telling everybody which way the UFO was going, and it was coming right towards our house. He said, so I grabbed my camera with the bazooka lens on it, and I went up to some Catholic school that was up on a hill because he wanted to get the money shot. He said, but he was listening to the radio guy, and the guy said, like, as soon as it got like just before the parkway was just before the Catholic school, just as it got to the parkway, it made a hard left and it went south. So my brother never seen it.
Okay.
So I said, okay, now let me tell you my story. And I said, I seen it. You look like the Roman Colosseum. And I'm telling him all the stuff I heard. And then my brother wrote a book called Paranormal Family and Friends, Frank Santariga, Paranormal Family and Friends. And he researched that story.
Okay, so Frank researched it. Okay.
And he went, and my brother's very thorough when he researches stuff. He's really anal that way. And he called the radio station and he said, "Can I get a copy of that broadcast?" And they said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't here. What year are you talking about?" The guy was like, "I wasn't here. I don't even know if we have that thing." And so then the guy said, "Well, that DJ's retired now, and he may have a copy of that, but there's no copies here." So then my brother researched the DJ, found out where he was living. The guy was retired in Arizona. So
he found him. Okay.
Yeah, my brother found you. My brother's he's a good guy, computer guy, and my brother found him and told him the whole spiel. And said, I was listening to you on the radio when you were doing your show that day, and I'm writing a book, and my brother's seen it, and yada, 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 and I'd love to get a copy of the tapes. And the DJ told my brother, listen, those tapes don't exist anymore, and do yourself a favor, don't get involved with that. And that was the end of it. And just and then the DJ said, just
somebody got to him and told him to NDA or something, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah. They so, but I mean, that was like totally amazing experience. I mean, I've seen some big crafts in the sky. I've seen some small ones, but
I know you've had another one with Dorothy, right?
Oh yeah, it's the abduction experience. Yeah, I was going through a period in my time where I was having terrible headaches and light hurt my eyes.
Okay.
And I was going to the doctors every week, and we were trying all kinds of medicine for like a month. Nothing worked. So at one point, the doctor said, listen, we're going to have to do a spinal tap on you to figure out what's going on with you because we can't figure it out.
Right.
Said, okay. It was towards the end of September. There's a park up here called Bear Mountain State Park. It's built on a park that looks like a mountain a bear sleeping. Okay,
nice.
If you look at it from like a distance, it looks like a bear. So that's why it's called Bear Mountain State Park. And so they were having a Native American powwow up there. So I told the wife, let's take the kids, And so we went there for the day. We took the kids, and we parked in the back parking lot. No, they parked in the front parking lot. And I'm walking. I got my son who's 4 years old. He's in a stroller. My daughter's about 8. And me and my wife are walking. And we're walking in where all the merchants are. So we're all selling all their merchandise and stuff. And this little guy comes out of a room. And he says to me, I'm a shaman. You have something dark attached to you. No. If you like, I can cleanse it for you. So I'm like, how much is this going to cost me? And he's like, no, I'll do it for free. So, okay. So I told my wife, don't take the kids around. I'll be out in a little while. I go into this little room, and there's another Native American in there beating on a tom-tom, and he starts with the sage, and he's saging, and the room gets so smoky. It looks like the room is on fire. And at one point, I couldn't even see him anymore. I could just hear him dancing around me.
Okay.
And it was weird. It was like a weird, surreal kind of experience. And then he opened up the doors and the windows, and he said, okay, you're cleansed now. And he went into the back of the room, and I heard him digging through some drawers, and he was digging for some stones. And he put a stone in a little yellow pouch. And he said, I may have the pouch right here in front of me. He said,
oh, there it is. Okay.
wear this.
Yes.
And it will protect you from anything attaching to you. Again, anything dark attaching. So I said, okay. So I started wearing it.
Did you look in the pouch? I got to know what's in it.
No, he told me, he said, whatever you do, don't open the pouch and don't touch the rock with your hands because it'll lose its healing powers.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing it. I'm not having any issues. Everything is good. Month later, Halloween rolls around. My daughter dresses up as Dorothy, as the Wizard of Oz. Mm-hmm. My son is a cowboy, and we go trick or treating with everybody in the neighborhood. We get back. It's late. I put everybody to bed. I told the kids you could have the candy tomorrow. Go to bed. It's late. You know, we've been walking around for hours over here, and I had a 125-pound canine trained German Shepherd at the foot of my bed, and
that's a good security system.
Yes, he was a really good dog, and he actually saved my daughter from being abducted one day, but that's another story.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm laying in bed, and it was a really, really cold Halloween that night, and the heat is pumping, and I'm starting to sweat. So I take the necklace off, and I put it on the table next to the bed, and I go to sleep.
Right.
And then next thing I know, I see light coming through the bedroom window.
Uh-oh.
And now the shades are down, the curtains are closed, but there's light coming through the window, like somebody's put a spotlight through the window.
Right.
But I'm not in my body. I'm out of my body. I'm on my headboard, which was flat, and it had shelving in it. I'm sitting on my headboard, looking down at myself sleeping, looking at 2 5-foot gray aliens starting to elevate me, right? Levitate me.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, why isn't the dog attacking these things? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. You were just talking about your shepherd. Yeah.
He's snoring at the foot of the bed, like, you know, he's in a coma. And my wife is snoring, and I'm looking at these things, and I'm like, how the hell are they going to get me through the windows? The windows are closed, and it's, you know, and I'm trying, this is all going through my head, like I'm trying to figure out, because they've got me elevated, and they're moving me towards the window in the light, you know?
Right.
I don't know if they could see me, but I could see them clear as day.
You can see them, right?
When all of a sudden, my daughter starts screaming in the next room, bloody murder. I mean, she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs. At that moment, I'm back in my body. The light in the room is gone. The aliens are gone. The dog is the first one up and making a beeline to the kids' room. My wife is my wife is behind the dog. I'm the last guy up. I get to the bedroom, and my daughter is laying across my son's legs, holding him down, and she's saying, and she's screaming that Dorothy came in through the light and told her that they wanted to take my son out to the light, but they would bring him back before the morning came. And she told them, you can't have my brother. And she was having a tug of war with them.
Oh.
And she started screaming, you know, screaming for help, just screaming.
Right.
So, you know, I could understand. I mean, I understand why they showed themselves to her as Dorothy, because she was Dorothy that night. And it wouldn't scare her. If they would have showed themselves to her the way I see them, she would have been terrified, you know?
Right.
So they didn't want to scare her. But So we put the kids back to bed. My wife is telling my daughter, "Oh, you just had a nightmare." And, my son doesn't know what's going on. He's just in there crying, hysterical, because his sister's wrapped around his legs. And we put the dog between both of them, their beds, let the dog sleep with them that night. We went back out to bed. And in the morning, the kids are up at the crack of dawn to go eat all the candy. And my wife gets up, and I get up, and I go, "Before you go downstairs," I said, "Did that really happen last night with Amanda?" And she said, "Yeah, Amanda had a nightmare. She thought she seen Dorothy taking Nick out the window." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not so sure it was a nightmare." And she goes, "Why?" And then I told her what I was experiencing just before that,
So
And
then she kind of was thinking, wait a minute, yeah.
And she was like, "I don't want to hear this. I don't want to know anything. This is too much for me. She can't handle this stuff." And I'm thinking, but I'm telling her, like, if that didn't happen, I would have thought what I was experiencing was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no other. I would have never questioned it. I would have just thought,
yeah,
man,
it is weird that she said or saw something strange too, right?
Yeah, she validated my experience with her experience,
For
and
sure.
yeah, and so I was like, okay. So after my wife went downstairs, I opened up the pouch, and
Oh
I
no.
let the rock out to see what the rock looked like, and I
Okay.
picked it up. I picked up the rock. I said,
Yeah.
because I was like, what the hell is in this pouch that was keeping
Right.
these things away? Because now
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is what attached to me. There was something dark attached to me, and I'm
Right.
thinking, what did he put in this pouch that was able to keep these things away?
Yeah.
So I opened up the pouch, and the rock almost looks like an elongated alien head that you would see from Peru.
Whoa.
Okay. It was
Okay.
very strange. And on the flat side, which would be the face, it had 2 dots for an eye, a dot for a nose, and a dot for a mouth. And it looked like an elongated alien head to me. And it just like freaked me out. It's like, this is the weirdest looking stone I've ever seen in my life.
Strange.
So now I have to go back to the powwow in September again, right? We go back to the powwow, and I'm walking down where the shaman cleansed me. The same route, we're doing the same thing like we did the year before, but
Did you tell him what you did though?
But the shaman's not there.
Oh, he's not there.
So I
Oh,
started asking around for and they
yeah.
said I'll go talk to this guy over there. He's the promoter. He knows where everybody is. So, okay. So I go
Right.
over to the promoter, and I said, "Listen, it's here last year. Shaman brought me in his room, this room over here, and he cleansed me. And all the time I'm telling this guy the story, he's looking at me like I got 2 heads. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, why are you looking at me that way? He goes, first of all, we're Native Americans. We don't have shamans. We have medicine men. He goes,
Right.
shaman are from South America or the Far East, he says. We don't have shamans here. So somebody told you they were a shaman, they were bullshitting you because we don't have them." I was like, okay. Well, the guy cleansed me, and he was able to take this darkness off of me, whatever it was. So whatever he was, whether he was an alien or not, I don't know. But he goes, if you want to speak to the elders or the medicine men, that is like 5 different tribes at this powwow. So there's 5 different medicine men,
Right.
So I
Right.
said, absolutely. I want to. He goes, well, all the medicine men and the elders are in the teepees in the back of the park on the big field. You can go back there.
Yeah.
So I tell my wife, take the kids, mosey around. I'll get back to you. I go back there, and I talk to a couple of the elders, and they're interested. And I show them the rock, and I go, I don't know what kind of rock it is. I think it's a sandstone, this, that, and the other thing. And they look at it, they pass it around, and they're like, nah, it's not a sandstone. I go, well, what is it? He goes, this is a tiger's eye. And he goes, we don't use tiger's eye up here. This is not one of our sacred stones. We don't use it for protection. We don't use it for healing. We don't use it for anything. So he goes, let me. So then he went in, and he talked to the medicine men, and they came out and they looked at it, and they were like, no, it wasn't any of them that did the procedure on me the year before, and they just validated everything that the elders said, that they're a medicine man. They're not shamans. They don't use tiger's eye. they use all kinds of stones, but tiger eye is one of their stones that they use. And it's only found that it's medicine. Shamans are found in South America and the Far East, and they use tiger eye, not them. And I was like, well, I don't know who this guy was, but
So
he took
what's
something.
your theory of what happened or who this person was?
I think he was an alien.
And put that in the pouch and gave it to you, and then
protect me. He took that. He took whatever was attached to me off of me, whether it was some kind of tracking device. I don't know what it was, but whatever he did, he got it off. I don't know if it was alien residue. I don't know. He got it off, and then he was just gone. Like I said, that no one knew who he was, or and I couldn't find the guy, so I was like, well, this guy must have been like an alien or something. To be able,
weird things that happened unexplained, right?
Yeah, to be able to take whatever was on me off, and I'm thinking it was alien, it had something to do with aliens, and to give me a stone that looks like an elongated alien head with a face on it to protect me. And it did, you know what I mean? Until I took it off that night,
right?
Because I was sweating so much because the heat was so high. Then that particular night was the night they came for me. He's like, maybe when I took it off, they seen that it wasn't on me anymore. And they said, now's the time to grab them. I don't know. But I also, after my daughter got older and she moved into our master bedroom and my son stayed in his room, we moved downstairs to the spare room because my wife didn't want my daughter down there. She didn't trust her. She said she'll climb out the window or something at night. Let's keep her upstairs where we can keep an eye on her. Because that's how my daughter was, And
kids will be kids, right?
Yes, absolutely. And she ended up rendezvousing with all her friends in the woods, And so she said, we'll move downstairs. I said, okay, we moved downstairs again. She's like 12, 13 now. Still have the dog. The dog is sleeping in the front of the bed. Again, one night we're downstairs and I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden, boom, all this light comes into the room.
Again.
And I wake up.
Okay.
And I look at and again, the curtains are down, the shades are drawn, but there's light coming through the room. And I'm looking through this light. I'm still laying down, but I'm not paralyzed by any stretch of the imagination. I'm looking and I'm trying to focus. And eventually my eyes focused. And there in front of my bed were two small gray aliens this time, about 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall. Yeah. They were much smaller than the other guys.
Right.
We said they were 3 feet tall. If the other guys were 5, they were 3. And they're sitting there at the edge of the bed. Again, the dog is right next to them. Literally, they've almost stepped on the dog.
And he doesn't sense them at all?
The dog is snoring. My wife is snoring. I'm looking at them, and they're doing this over the bed. And I don't know if they're trying to elevate me to get me out the window or what. But at one point, one of them started walking along the side of the bed. He was getting closer to me. And the thought came to my head was like, I wonder if they can hear my thoughts. And I was like, hey, I see you guys. You guys know I can see you, right? And I'm saying all of this stuff in my head telepathically. And they're not paying any attention to me. Like, they can't hear me. And they're going, ooh, over my legs. Now, I was getting ready to have total knee replacements on both knees. And I was thinking, oh, man, maybe they're going to heal my knees and I won't have to go for the surgeries,
That'd be nice, right?
That would have been great. And then one of them is getting really, really close to me. And the thought comes to my head, I'm a pretty big dude. This is a little pretty scrawny guy.
You can get him, right?
I'm going to grab him. And I want to see if he can make me let go. As soon as that thought came to my head, they both went, ooh, like this, and popped out. The light was gone. They were gone. I got up. I ran out the backyard to look around to see if I could see anything moving in the night sky, but there was nothing there.
That's it. They were like,
and
no, we're not going to mess with Al because he's from New York and he can beat us up.
and I wasn't, I didn't have any paralysis or anything, so I could move my extremities. So I said, you know what? They haven't done anything to paralyze me, and this guy is getting closer. I wanted to see how strong he was, what he felt like, with the skin or the material he was wearing. Well, I had all these thoughts going through my head, and that was the second time. Yeah.
Crazy stuff, Al. And you had a lot of experiences too with Bigfoot in your area.
Yeah, I have like 5 different locations I go to that the Bigfoot are at different times of the year for different clans. But we go out and we do investigations, and I still bring all my cameras with me, like all the different spectrums of light and the thermal and stuff, because you never know what you're going to catch on them.
True.
I still bring a couple of digital voice recorders. I learned over the years to use multiple voice recorders because they're all set at different frequencies, and what you don't catch on one, you may catch on another. So
right, yeah. So what are you hoping to catch when you're looking for Bigfoot? Are you looking for prints more so, or are you looking for the quintessential, I caught it on film, or picture? What's your favorite to try to catch?
I'm looking for them to come down and have telepathic communication with me.
Telepathic communication.
That's what I'm looking for. I could care less about video. I could care less about audio. I bring everything with me just to validate anything I do get, whether it's tree knocks or screams or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm more into environmental readings now. I do a lot of readings with energy readings.
Do you find certain seasons, you think, with the environment, when you're thinking about that, would the winter time, they're more active or less active? Like, what's your theory on the seasons?
Different, like I said, different clans are more active during different times of the year.
Right.
Yeah. And I do find that now, there's energy around us all the time. I go through about 250 readings each time I go out. And I go through these 250 readings 3 or 4 times during the course of the night to see how energy changes, because you'll have different energy on nights where there's a full moon compared to nights where there's moon, only 1% of the moon. You'll have different energy when there's a solar eclipse via a lunar eclipse, you know what I mean? And I also know that the energy changes when they come in as well. They change the energy signature, and
so you can notice a difference when they're in the area, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, the different kinds of energies, frequencies will change, energies will change. Just like if you were trying to read the energy of a portal, say, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a location, it's a place of high strangeness, and you do whatever rituals you do to try to open up the portal. You get a baseline reading before you take a Geiger counter. You read it, you see where the radiation's at. Then you do your rituals, and if the portal opens up, that Geiger counter will go through the roof.
Right.
Okay, and that's how you know that the portal is opened. Well, it's the same thing with the Bigfoots. When they come they come down off the high ridge and to see who's at the location, and they surround you. All the energy changes, all the readings change, and I find it fascinating, and I like I said, I have so many different pieces of equipment that I read, and I read everything that is out there that you can possibly measure on reading, and it's just amazing. But I want that. I've had telepathic communications with them in the past. I had a female visit me in a dream. Her name was Hyaneth, And I also had a white one come visit me who told
Okay.
me his name was Alaric, and he was a king shaman, and he was an ancient one.
An ancient one.
Yeah, and in one of the
Like,
go ahead.
kind of like an elder, you mean?
Yeah, he said he was an elder, but he was also said he was an ancient one.
Okay.
I mean, and he at one point I had made a deal with the clan when I got there that I wouldn't go up the high ridge at this one location because I knew their home range was on the other side.
Right.
So I had made a deal with them. I said, look, I'll never come over this ridge. I'll even never go up this ridge. But you come and see me when I'm here.
Right.
And they always do. They always come and see me. I leave them gifts. They leave me gifts.
Oh, what kind of gifts do you leave them out?
I like to leave them.
Since we're talking about, we're in the Christmas season, what would you leave a Bigfoot for Christmas?
I like to leave them squeaky toys.
Squeaky
like
toys.
Squeaky toys.
Okay.
I like to leave them the cat balls that light up.
Yes. Okay.
I'll leave them that.
Yeah.
They love colored glow sticks.
Okay.
Feathers, different color feathers. They love. Quartz crystal stones. I leave them all different kinds of stones, not just quartz, but all different types of stones. I leave.
And what kind of gifts do you get from them?
I get some crazy stuff. Sometimes I'll get a quartz crystal stone back. Sometimes I'll get a deer skull.
Really?
Yeah. One time I got a turtle shell.
A turtle shell. Okay.
Yes, and then I didn't take the turtle shell, but every time I went back, I was going back daily. And every time I was going back, they were catching moles and putting them in the turtle shells, like gifts for me, dead moles. And at one point the shell had I got pictures of it, has 3 different moles in the shell. And I was like, thank you very much, but I'm not gonna take
You're not hungry.
Yeah.
I have to ask, so does anybody else know where this gifting spot is? Or is it just you?
No, there's a couple of guys on the team know where it is.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely,
but just your team though, like nobody else.
No, I've taken people there that aren't on my team, but they have to sign a a non-disclosure agreement.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't want anybody going back and doing bad things there when I'm not there, and then me going there and getting catching the raft of them.
Yeah, so, you don't want that from a Bigfoot.
Very lucky. Everybody that I've brought there that wasn't part of the team has never gone back, to my knowledge, or done anything dark or negative there. Okay. I also get feathers in return too. Okay. Sometimes I think they're either turkey feathers or geese feathers. I'm not sure, because there's a 52-acre lake in the area, and I don't know if they're catching the geese off the lake and plucking their feathers and leaving them for me. But I get all kinds of stuff. I don't recommend gifting food. I think food is a bad idea. Okay. And if you are going to gift food, then gift them food that they can find in their area, whether it be vegetables or fruit, stuff like that. Okay. Like behind my house is an old apple orchard.
So don't give them junk food. Give
them apples, give them carrots, give them stuff that they can find in the wilderness or find on farms. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Don't ever give them meat, because then they get riled up when you don't give them meat. They follow you home and they bang on your house. And
if you don't give them meat?
Yes. If you start gifting them meat and they get used to it, and then you stop, they will come to your house and get violent with you.
Oh wow! Okay.
I also gift them tobacco too. They like tobacco. Plus, there's a couple of other things that I like to keep secret that they use for medicinal purposes, or they'll use for food that only come out certain times of the year.
So
I'll use that as well.
10 seconds or less. Tell me where people can find Bronxville Paranormal Society. And again, station ID, you're listening in on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 Gulf Coast, and sponsored by the BOG team. And tell us, Al, where people can find Bronxville Paranormal Society. You got 30 seconds.
Facebook is the easiest place to find us. We're on all of the streaming networks. but Facebook is the place you could find me at any of my groups, or you can find me, reach out to me personally, and I will definitely answer you. If you have any questions, just message me, private messenger.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody. And Happy New Year.
Yes, and Happy New Year too. Thanks so much, Al, for being on. We really appreciate it. Peace out.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.